Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this week on Full Time Out. I'm your host, Ari Bruckman. Our special guest this week graduated from Rutgers University with a degree in communications. For the last 15 years, he's taught as an adjunct professor at the University of Chicago for PR and for marketing. He has had a chance to work with some of the top and worldwide renowned names as far as companies go in the food industry, with PepsiCo, Sara Lee, Hillshire, and now with Conagra Brands as the Senior Vice President and Chief Communications Officer. He's one of the leading experts on global communications and working in the corporate field. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our special guest this week, Mr. Jon Harris. Jon, thanks for joining me, brother. How you doing?
Great, brother. What a great introduction. Thank you so much. My goodness. I am humbled by your wonderful introduction. It's great to be here.
Can you kind of describe your responsibilities and what the company's about?
Sure. My role as Chief Communications Officer of the organization is I oversee all the communications aspects of our company. So I oversee corporate communications, internal communications, our corporate giving and our corporate social responsibility and our foundation efforts, as well as our brand marketing communications. So pretty much I am, in other words, a chief storyteller. I help create the narrative and deliver the narrative and take all of our key stakeholders on that journey. It's a job that I never take for granted, and it's one that I really do enjoy, and I get a chance to work with some terrific people. Conagra is about a 102-year-old company that has about 105 brands, and you may not know the corporation, but you'll definitely know the brands that range from Ready Whip and Slim Jim to Marie Callender's to Orville Redenbacher to Banquet to Bird's Eye to Vlasic Pickles to Duncan Hines to Angie's Boom Chicka Pop to so many more. And so my job is to protect, serve, and build the corporation, the brands, the employees, the reputation of all of them. And it's something that I said before, something that I really do enjoy, and something that it's never a dull moment.
Definitely being in those positions, you learn a lot about yourself and about the company and just, from the consumer as well. At some point though, Jon, you were 22, 23 years old. You had just graduated school, right? You're about to enter the workforce. And I think there's that kind of uncertainty, right? That's created of, okay, I'm not sure where my first job will be. How am I going to get that breakthrough? What was it for you that you found worked that ultimately led you to break through the industry at a younger age?
For me, I was very lucky, Ari. I'll tell you, I was fortunate that when I was at Rutgers, I had a communications professor, an adjunct professor, a guy named Gil Bash, who he headed up communications at a boutique PR firm. It was a healthcare PR firm called Sutton PR in New York. I was interning at a radio station in New York City, WXRK, working with Howard Stern and so many other people. I think I was pretty much a glorified messenger back in the day. Internships weren't exactly like they are nowadays, but I did learn a lot nonetheless, and it was a lot of fun. And I still stay in touch with all those amazing people to this day. But that said, I was in Gil's class, and Gil said to me after class one day, I thought I was going to be in trouble for coming in late, and he said, "Hey, I'd like for you to apply for a job at my firm as an account coordinator." And I had nothing else going for me. I had nothing else planned, and I knew I was going to be graduating very soon. So I applied for that position. I interviewed for that role, and I was lucky enough to get that role. And so I started working in healthcare PR, worked with Gil for a couple of years, and then went to another firm, Ketchum. Did early in my career for about the first 5 years, worked in the agency business, got a chance to work with some terrific people, terrific mentors, just some great brands. And then Pepsi came calling. I had the opportunity to work at one of the great global companies at PepsiCo, and jumped at the chance to do that. Worked at PepsiCo and went in-house versus working at agency life. And really, since then, never looked back. And again, it's been a 30-year ride, but I was not afraid to take a chance. I was always networking, and I was always looking to help others around me. Even when I first graduated from college, And I was looking to help those who were still at Rutgers through the Public Relations Student Society to help them with any learnings that I had, any lessons that I'd learned, to help them so that anything that I'd gone through, they may not have to go through. And that's kind of the lessons that I've taken throughout my entire career for the last 30 years. It's always been to help people along the way.
One of the great things that I continue to see from people who have achieved a ton of success in their field, they kind of see this success happen twice. They see it once when everybody else sees it, and they see it once before it actually happens in their mind. They kind of picture what it looks like for them when they get there, how they're going to react, and really just how it's going to be to almost prepare them for that moment. I'm wondering, for you, was there anything that you did habitually that kind of prepared you for some of the things you've done to achieve the amount of success you have? Because I think at some point you're kind of like, okay, how do I be better than I already am? I've already achieved this. It's okay to be complacent now. What keeps you kind of to continue to keep doing that?
Well, I'll tell you, my CEO, who's a dear friend of mine and mentor, a guy named Sean Connolly, and I've had the pleasure to work with Sean at a few companies now. Sean calls it productive paranoia. And I think that's really what it is. I think being the hardest working guy in the room, as The Rock says, Dwayne Johnson, I've always been that quintessential can-do guy and always wanted more and never wanted to rest on my laurels. And I think that's always been the key. If I've had any success in my career, it's been because of that, and always looking to do more and never settling. And I think those have been the lessons that I've experienced through my whole career. I will say I've also been very blessed along the way, Ari, by having some terrific mentors throughout the way. I mentioned Sean. I've had other great mentors, the late Brenda Barnes, who was my CEO at Pepsi, my CEO at Sara Lee. It's been a great blessing along the way. And I've also have had the great blessing of working with just some terrific teams. The team I have now that I work with and that I have the pleasure to lead at Conagra, I can't do it without them. And I it's very hard to elevate yourself without a great team around you. They elevate me, and I hope that I elevate them, because we can't do it alone. And I think that was a lesson I learned very early in my career, and that's something I've taken very seriously along the way. And again, I think the goal always is be the hardest working person in the room, but always look at ways in which you can elevate others around you.
You talk about, fueling other people's success and how that kind of will ultimately come full circle and kind of help you fuel your own. Can you talk about, just some of the adversity you faced along the way? And how have you been able to kind of remind yourself that, this isn't here forever. This too shall pass?
Absolutely. Oh, look, the only thing constant in life is change. And that is the truth. And I think it is, you have to appreciate the whole journey. That means you got to appreciate the bad parts as much as the good parts, because, it's all part of it. You may not like it as much. It's not as enjoyable, but it is part of the process. And it does allow you to appreciate the good times even that much more. I think the adversity that I've experienced in my career and in my life has only made me stronger and has allowed me, I've learned that, there's the saying, I don't make mistakes. I only experience lessons and learnings. And I think that there's a lot of truth to that. You can look at it one of two ways, and you can also look at things one of two ways. You can either beat yourself up or you can move forward. You can experience, accept, and move on. And I think I try to experience, accept, and move on. Things don't always go great. Things aren't always easy. Kind of like in our business, you try to fail fast, you try to fail cheap, and you want to move on. You're not going to get anywhere in life if you don't take risks. And if you want to be innovative, if you want to be different, if you want to make a difference, then you're going to have to take risks. And with risks comes uncertainty, and with uncertainty comes failures. And failures is just part of that process. And so if we've learned anything throughout COVID, is that nothing really is certain right now. Today is day 343 being at home. I never thought that I would be working at home for almost a full year. Never. And I will tell you, Ari, for my team, I've never been, and my team has never been more efficient, effective, productive, punctual. It has been a great learning. I miss the people I work with. I love the iterative process of us collaborating in person together. But technology has enabled us to work efficiently and effectively together. And that's something I never thought we'd be able to do. And I think, if anything, did it go perfectly all the time? Of course not. We are an essential industry, being the food industry. So there's been a lot of learnings there. I mean, we had the added excitement of not only trying to keep our frontline workers healthy while trying to feed the masses right now, all of those consumers, those millions of consumers who are relying on us to feed them each and every day. And it is something that we take very seriously and something that we don't take for granted. But there were missteps along the way. There were plant closings. COVID made its way into some of our plants, of course. But you accept it, you course correct, you work through those issues, you take those learnings, you apply them the next time the crisis occurs in another plant, and it just makes it better. It makes you that much better. I think we are a much better team. I think I'm a much better professional. I even think Conagra is a much better company right now, 343 days into COVID, than we were on March 13th of 2020. And I think we're going to be even better as we go forward.
It's really interesting. You're not the first person I've had on the show that has told me this has actually been opportunistic, right? It's a lot about perception, and just from having different guests and reading different things. That's kind of what life is based on, and that's kind of what I'm learning here too, is just, how you're looking at the situation and how can this be an opportunity. And I've talked about this before on the show, but I wouldn't have started Full Time Out if I didn't have the pandemic. Because I just thought, hey, look, everybody's going to be in front of their computer. Everybody's going to be on their phone. And even if they're working from home, there's even more so, they're going to be, kind of feeling the need to check and see what's going on. And I just thought this would be a great chance to get going. Can you talk about any opportunities that weren't there before that maybe now you see because this pandemic has forced everybody to kind of focus on this?
Oh boy, it has created so many opportunities for so many. I mean, you yourself being one, but I think for us in particular, it's created a whole myriad of new innovations. I mean, we've been able to, it has escalated trial. So where we would normally have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to get people through advertising, to get people to try some of our products, well, you've got a very captive audience right now, and people are eating at home more now than ever before. So it's given us the opportunity to create more innovation, more new and different products. Our new Epic Duncan Hines line, a new apple cider cinnamon line for Angie's Boom Chicka Pop, a line that we just did with Chance the Rapper on Duncan Hines with Social Works over the holidays. It's allowed us to do some very innovative innovation that almost doubled as projects for families at the same time too, to give people something to do and keep them busy, but also being very much on trend. It's been in many ways, it's gotten us even closer to our consumers than ever before. And we're a company that relies heavily on data and data science, and we're a demand science and constantly relying on that data. But I believe that COVID has brought us closer to our consumers than ever before. And I believe in many ways, we're not going to go back to the way that things were. I think it would be counterproductive. I think that we've come a long way. And I think there's going to be a lot more of that. I've heard of other businesses. I have a dear friend of mine who reinvented himself completely. He had a business that was an event planning business where they did weddings and corporate events and bar mitzvahs. And then he spun it around and created a sanitation company. And now he's giving COVID testing, and eventually that very well might even go into vaccines. And so it's amazing. The only limit in life is you. And I know you hear it. We hear Tony Robbins say it, but it really is the truth. And I think, and you're too good, and you're to get in your own way. And I think that's something that you really have to take to heart. You're too good, you're too smart to stand in your own way. And I think COVID has taught people a lot right now. We've seen 20% of restaurants in Chicago, well-known restaurants, will never be open again. I mean, they've gone out of business for good. 47% of businesses in New York City are closed right now with have no idea when they're going to reopen. So right now you have one of two choices. You can either lay down and accept it, or you can just kind of accept the situation and move on and move forward. And I'd like to think, and I know that I would like to move on and move forward, and I'd like to hope that most people will move on and move forward.
Yeah, John, I think that's a great segue actually into, something that I'm not sure too many people, even if they knew you, know that you do on LinkedIn. And it's basically your positive, right? Your mint words. You send a positive message every day. And I think that there are people who actually probably come to the page. You can correct me if I'm wrong here, but they actually come just to see that. And then maybe they keep scrolling because they've already came, but otherwise they're kind of getting off. And that kind of jump sets their day and really kind of puts them in the right mindset and prepare themselves for everything. Because I think sometimes people, the only thing that they're going to hear positive is going to come from internally. So can you talk about kind of what inspired you to do that and how important it is to have that positive mindset?
Well, thank you. And I do it for myself as much as I do it for everybody else. I call them hashtag Harrismints, HARRISMINTS. So it's a playoff of Harris, obviously harassment, but and it's not to harass people in any way, of course. But it is. I started it several years ago. It has to be now. It's a long time ago now. I don't even know how many years ago, but I remember when I started that people were like, "Oh, you can't do this because if you do these, you're going to have to keep doing them, and then you're going to want to stop, and you can't stop." And I haven't stopped. I have no desire to stop, and the fuel that keeps me going, Ari, of these daily inspirational sayings, and I get them from every place. I get them online. People send them to me. Sometimes I'll make them up. I'll sometimes get them off Peloton, or I'll get them from books that I'm reading, or movies or TV shows that I'm watching. But I'll get inspiration anywhere, and I'll just repurpose them and post them on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and I encourage folks to share them. Their daily thoughts. And the reason why I do that is one of my favorite sayings is treat everyone kindly, because everyone's fighting a battle that you know nothing about. And that is the truth. And I think that is a wonderful lesson for everyone. And it is so true, particularly during these unprecedented times right now. And I've seen an increase of likes, and I've seen an increase of some of my analytics on the harassment, certainly on LinkedIn over the past year due to COVID and people being at home and being, looking for more inspiration. And I'm very happy to do that. As I said, I do it for myself as much as I do it for others. In addition to that, I've even started, I am a singer-songwriter, although I haven't really done it a lot over the last several years. But I started what I call the basement sessions every Friday night. And we've done 42 of them, where for about a couple of hours a week, I take requests, and we get a couple of thousand views a week. And we have some celebrities watching, like Al Roker and Jon Hamm have watched, and Natalie Morales from Dateline have watched, and then we get folks from Wayne, New Jersey, and all various parts of my life making requests, singing, dancing. It's a blast, and we're on our 43rd session this week. Happens every Friday at around 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern, and it pretty much goes for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I'll do it. I do it with a friend of mine, Aaron Weistrop, who's a great guitarist, and my son Alex. When he's home from school, he also performs. But it's been a blast. But the whole goal is to uplift people, inspire them, and hopefully put a smile on their face again during these challenging times. And really, the reason why I did that was to really to thank all of our essential workers who have been so important to all of us, and working so hard and tirelessly throughout this whole pandemic. So they're working so hard so that we can stay home and we can keep ourselves and our loved ones safe. So it was the least I can do in helping play my part in inspiring and helping folks.
I think it's amazing that you do that, but I also think it gives people another perspective to challenge themselves to see, well, he's doing this every single day. I'm sure he does get sick and tired of this, right? And I'm sure there are people who even if it's not true, John, I'm sure that goes through their mind, and they kind of say, but he's still doing it anyway. He's still showing up. And that might be the most important part, is that there's going to be those days where you don't want to come and you're not at your best, whether it's mentally or physically or whatever, but you got to show up to that workout. You got to show up to that job and just kind of get through that. And that's the lesson for that day. You talk a little bit about just what you do to discipline yourself.
I will read. I will meditate at times. I work out. I've been doing the Peloton every day for the last 343 days. I will play my guitar. I'll do a little bit. I will listen to certain podcasts. I do a lot of. I do quite a bit of reading, self-help. Books as well. I do like Anthony Robbins, and I like Mel Robbins and others as well. One of my favorite sayings is, no matter how you feel, get up, dress up, show up, and never give up. And I kind of try to live that. I mean, you're not, listen, every day is not going to be good, but there is good in every day. And I don't mean for this to sound like a greeting card, every sentence I say, but I think you got to believe that. You've got to take that to heart. You've got to realize that, not every day is going to be perfect, but it's part of the process. It's part of the journey. And I think during COVID right now, I think there's got to be a great appreciation. There's an even greater appreciation for me to work in an essential industry, that my family is safe and healthy. And just, and really knowing that my team is well, that my company's doing well, that our brands are helping people, helping nourish them, and putting a smile on some people's faces. And you can only really control, Ari, what you can control. The rest of it the rest of it, you can only, that's, Stephen Covey says, it's your circle of influence. It's your circle of control and your circle of influence. You can only really focus on that circle of control. You can influence quite a bit, but you can only control what you can control. And when things start getting a little out of sorts, or when I find that I'm trying to control too much, you kind of have to bring yourself back. You've got to breathe, focus, and bring yourself back to what really is the issue, and really what can you control right now, and then take it from there. We all kind of lose our way at times. But if you can focus yourself, if you really can stay focused and mindful, and know that, whatever you're going through right now is temporary, and the light is at the other end of the tunnel, I think that's what helps get us all through. And I try to do that for, and I think we all have to be there for each other nowadays. I think I've had some friends who have either lost their jobs during this time, or who have just gone through a really, really tough time, because this has been hard for so many. And I think it's, social media is a wonderful thing, but it also, remember, social media is what people put out there is what they want you to see of them. People aren't putting, their trials and tribulations and their problems out there. And so you cannot mess with your mind in thinking that that's reality for others. And therefore your life is, my goodness, look at all the problems I have. And she's out there going out on a Sunday night, dancing, without a mask. It's not that way. And I think if you really step back, you breathe, you think about it, you really can come to the conclusion that it's not that way. And look, it's all part of the process. It's all part of the journey. I don't have all the answers. I never claim to have all the answers. I'm learning like everybody else is, and just trying to enjoy this journey, as we all are along the way.
Jack, can you tell everybody where they can go to find more about you, to learn more about what you do and Conagra Brands?
You got it. Well, if you want to learn more about me, go to @JonJHarris, JonJayHarris at Instagram or Twitter, or you can look at Jon Harris on LinkedIn. And if you want to find out about Conagra Brands and all of our amazing brands, our 105 brands, go to ConagraBrands.com. That's CONAGRA brands.com.
Jon, how do you want to be remembered, whether it's in your industry, and kind of what impact do you want to have on the world when it's all said and done?
When all said and done, it's a great question, boy. I would love to be remembered as someone who cared, elevated those around him, put a smile on people's faces, and was known as someone who loved and cared for others, and was kind to others as well. I think that's about it. I'd love to think that, that I was a blessing to others as they've been a blessing to me.
Jon, that's amazing, and appreciate you taking the time out of your day, interview with me here, and wish you the best.
You got it, Ari. You keep doing the great work. Keep telling those important stories and inspiring all of us. It's a pleasure to watch you grow, my friend. And thanks so much for thinking enough about me to having me on the show. I really appreciate it, and wishing you continued success.
Thank you. Take care, Jon.
See you, brother. Stay gold.